thoughts on the sentencing, Alissa? Anything you want to say, Alissa?
This right here is Alissa Jackson. She apparently was supposed to die with having stage 4 cancer that was spreading to her organs and brain.
I'm sick to my stomach.
She told her husband, who was soon to be a widow, and also her 5 children that she only had weeks to live.
Why did you do this to me? No, why did you do it to your children and your kids?
But in this clip, we can clearly see her being arrested. So what happened?
She's lied her whole life. She's lied in high school. She's lied. She's going to continue to lie to the day she dies.
In today's video, we're going to have a look from the start to finish of Alissa Jackson, who faked this terrible illness for money, and how her friends have now been burnt and can't trust anyone again suffering with this awful disease, all because of Alissa's actions. All of that right after the shout out comment. And that goes to Laura Lewis. Thank you for your comment. If you guys want to shout out in the next video, make sure to leave a comment down below saying, Blaze, I tiggled the bell button, and I'll pick one of you for a shout out in the next video. So, who is Alissa Jackson? Well, reading from this article, which we'll come back to later, she is a 32-year-old woman from Belleville who decided it would be a good idea to fake having stage 4 ovarian cancer that she claimed was spreading to all her organs. But this story is slightly different, as she didn't just fake to only her friends, but like I stated at the beginning of the video, to her 5 children and husband. I'm not really too sure how she thought that was going to go well and end with a good outcome, but I guess this is the hole Alissa Jackson has decided to dig for herself, in which one of her friends stated seeing her at open house school, Alissa Jackson looked visibly sick as she had a bald head and IV tubing hanging from her chest, as she also noticed Alissa was walking with a cane, accompanied by all her children. As seeing all her children by her side and her looking extremely sick, she decided to strike up a friendly conversation. And this was the start of their friendship, as she states here in this interview.
I was really nervous. She immediately started telling me her story. She said that she had stage 4 ovarian cancer and she wasn't really doing well after this round of chemo, and our friendship started there.
After striking up this friendship with Alissa Jackson, she then decided to cook her meals, take care of her, until word got out, in which the whole community came together to support Alissa Jackson in her time of need, with some of those benefits including charities and fundraisers, and somebody even donated a minivan to her, as another person even donated a holiday to Alissa and her husband for a getaway together. Again, it is reported here in this article that Alissa Jackson overall scammed people out of $50,000. In fact, it got so bad that Alissa Jackson actually created her own website, and she called it Alissa's Army. Now, this website primarily consisted of updates in which she would tell all her fans her procedures and what she was going through at the time, with her fans also donating. With this screenshot right here, seeing that she already has 212 sponsors, raising a astonishing $7,070, with the goal being $10,000. All while Alissa Jackson was perfectly fine. Some of the updates as well, from what I read on her website, are so chilling that she could fake something like this and write to this extent in detail about something she doesn't have is honestly astonishing, with some of her posts saying stuff like this.
Just a health update. I've been so damn sick for a couple weeks now. Not able to keep anything down. Coughing/puking up big blood clots. Weakness and fatigue. My scan showed I have new tumors in my abdomen, and the large one in my stomach and smaller ones in my intestines are bleeding. They're treating the bleeding and blood loss, but as I said before, I'm unable to have any sort of surgery or major procedures. So I ask that you pray it'll stop and I'll pull through this. I'm not ready to go so soon, and my body is slowly shutting down, and it needs to knock this crap off. Mama Bear still has to go skydiving and go swimming this summer. Love you all and thank you for the continued support. Well, I still can't breathe worth a damn. Over a week with bronchitis. Blank counts. New treatments, steroid shots and pills, antibiotic shots and pills, and not much progress. I still have fluid on my stomach, which isn't making it any easier to breathe. It's just so frustrating. It honestly took all I had to take a shower today. I keep hearing that I just need to think positive, but at this point, I can tell I need more than that. To those who have stood by my ups and downs over all the years, especially the last 2, thank you so much. I've made new friends, caught up with old ones, lost old ones, and lost new ones. Either way, I've been blessed to have a wide array of people in my life, and I've learned something from all of you, good and bad. When you have an argument with your loved ones, family or friends, ask yourself this: is this worth it?
And it even got as bad as taking pictures and uploading it to her website, saying stuff like this.
And it starts again. I'm so uncomfortable and it's hard to breathe. I look 8 months pregnant. Ugh, give me a break for once. I'm begging. Then Brandon Jackson actually rubs it like it's a baby, lol. Hideous legs when I was in the hospital. I've never had them look like this. They're back to normal now, thank goodness, lol.
In which, honestly, the most shocking part of all of this isn't even the pictures. It's just the fact that she went onto this website to ask for advice on what she should tell her 4-year-old and other children. Now, it's actually hard to tell if Alissa at any point did try to sit her children down and also just straight up lied to her, which is extremely sickening. We've seen this before in past cases where the children generally believed that their parent was going to die when they were fine the whole time, adding stress that a kid doesn't even need.
Entire family had no clue. She has 2 little boys that had to be told yesterday that her mom was lying and not dying.
All for her selfish monetary gain and sympathy online. Now, all of this carried on for roughly 2 years before one day, Alissa Jackson texted her new best friend, Jen, who had been taking care of her, cooking her meals like I had stated earlier, saying that she had been rushed to hospital and this was the end. She was ready to just die alone at this stage, once again playing the sympathy card. I can almost comprehend and understand why people fake for trying to scam people for money, as disturbing as it is, but at least they're getting something from that. People are greedy. It's not too hard to wrap your head around, but telling your friend that you're going to die that night, that I simply just can't even fathom. It doesn't make any sense, because this is exactly what led up to Alissa actually being caught. Now, she sent her friend Jen a picture of her in a hospital gown, in which obviously at this point her friend is freaking out, trying to go to the hospital to find her. Remember, in her head, this might possibly be the last time that she's going to see her friend. And of course, she's going to think that. Alissa told her exactly that. So she went to the hospital to try and find her. The hospital that Alissa had told her that she is in, told the doctors and nurses, in which they replied with, "There's no Alissa Jackson here." She insisted that she was, showed them the picture that Alissa had just sent of her in her hospital gown, in which they sat her down, typed her name once more into the computer system, and lo and behold, she wasn't there. And it was at that moment that Jen realized she had been lied to this whole time, looking after her friend, helping her, watching her write these horrific things on her website in which hundreds of people had been sponsoring her, sending her money, all of this, and it all turned out to be a complete lie. At that point, she decided to take drastic actions into her own hands, hiring a private investigator to spy on Alissa, as her and other people now had their doubts that she had been telling the truth. And through his investigation, this is what he found.
It was all a fraud, but she would tell Jen by text or by phone that she had scheduled an appointment with her doctor, and we would be observing her at her home or at the Target store.
And one of those appointments that Alissa texted, she misspelled the word scan for scam. Honestly, really just shadowing her actual truth, as she was doing exactly that, scamming. After this 2-month investigation took place, they decided to go to the police with the evidence that they had stacked up against Alissa over these prior months. And that's when the police came in and actually arrested Alissa for fraud. Shortly after being arrested, Alissa actually appeared in court, in which I actually found this detailed report on Alissa Jackson's case.
Jackson's year-long deceit culminated Tuesday in a St. Clair County courtroom, where her husband and 4 of their children watched as she was led away in handcuffs after Circuit Judge Jan Fiss handed down a 3-year prison sentence for fraud. The charges stem from an online campaign and a succession of charity fundraisers on behalf of Alissa's army that netted her thousands of dollars, donated meals, a free vacation, vehicles, and more. People everywhere open their hearts and wallets with every Facebook post from Alissa's army, said Jennifer Hulsman, describing a friendship that began in February 2012 after noticing Jackson, the mother of her daughter's best friend, wearing a protective face mask and knit cap and intravenous tubes protruding from her arm at a school volleyball game. Hulsman estimated that online fundraising efforts and several community events netted Jackson more than $50,000. St. Clair County State's Attorney Brendan Kelly declined to disclose a specific dollar amount tied to the scam and said prosecutors will seek restitution at a separate hearing in several weeks. Jackson didn't testify on her behalf, instead relying on her lawyer to read her written statement. Both her husband and defense attorney describe a troubled childhood marked by sexual abuse, drug addiction, and, after the birth of her children, severe postpartum depression. Money, that's not what she was looking for, said St. Louis lawyer Patrick Kilgore. She was looking for the camaraderie, the friendship, the relationships, the sense of belonging. Jackson said in her statement that she began taking chemotherapy medicine unnecessarily in early 2012 and that her intent was self-harm, not deception. I simply wanted to think and feel nothing at all, Jackson wrote. Over time, it became easier to say I had cancer than to describe the hell I was going through.
Which, as terrible as all that is, I just don't feel like it's a justification for faking something like this. And honestly, it seems like many people online agree, with comments like this: lost my family members to cancer, how dare she fake some shit like that, shame on her. Lost my mum to cancer, I hope karma gets this girl. Karma will get her. But what about updates as well, as this whole story actually took place in 2016? Well, Alissa Jackson is obviously now out of jail, but I saw these articles writing as she was in jail at the time, saying 2 years have passed. Alissa appeared at her sentencing with longer hair, she's put on weight and looks much healthier than before. Also, another question that got brought up quite a few times in this whole video was, what about the husband? Now, it's understandable that the children wouldn't question their mother, being the young age that they were, but the husband? Really? He had no suspicion on the fact that she wasn't going to any of her appointments? And this article had this to say, and well, what about Alissa's husband, Brandon? He was never implicated in the scam, with her other friends saying stuff like this: she'll never be sorry, never, she'll never be sorry, said Amanda Timber, a victim of the scam. She's a psychological liar. She's lied her whole life. She lied in high school. She's lying. She's going to continue till the day she dies. And lastly, what about paying back the victims in all of this? We've seen the sentence, yes, 3 years, but she had another court hearing a few weeks after the fact. And this is what this said: the cancer con artist may have to pay back some of the money she swindled from so many of her supporters, implying that honestly it doesn't even look like she has to pay it all back.
But in light of the extent of this fraud, in light of the scope, in light of the number of people that were impacted in this community by the actions of this one individual, this is a sentence which is entirely appropriate. This defendant, Ms. Jackson, she created a cancer, not just a cancer that was used to dupe people out of their money, not just a cancer that she created in her mind, but a cancer of mistrust in this community. It is our instinct to want to help our fellow human being when they tell us they are in pain, especially when they have something as serious as cancer. And when people do that and they react in a way to help their fellow human being, that is the best instincts and the best thing about this community, that we help our fellow human being in their time of need.
All in all, I find Alissa Jackson and this whole case to be quite sinister, as she told her children that she was going to die, which wasn't true, scamming thousands of dollars from a lot of people, in which this case just has to be one of the worst ones that I think we've ever covered on this channel.